Welcome to this video on Introduction to Web Technology. The module has got this syllabus, out of which today we'll see what is called as the Internet. The basic Internet protocols will be seen, as well as lastly the World Wide Web. So, what is a network of computers? So basically, you know that whenever two or more computers are connected, that forms a computer network. Imagine this to be a computing device. Now, based on the geographical area, that may be called as a local area network or a wide area network. So this is basically a computer network. Now, whenever two or more such networks are connected to each other, so that is a network of network, that basically is called as internetwork, because the communication happens among those networks or among the computers which are in those networks, and in short it is called as internet. So internet is a generic term, that means the network of two or more networks. Now whenever uh, all such open networks which are globally situated, they are interconnected, so which is shown in this diagram now, the whole diagram. So what I mean by open networks, that means they are open to be interconnected. So whenever all such open networks situated throughout the globe, they are interconnected, that is what is called as the internet. So the internet is a particular terminology that represents the global network. Internet is a generic term, that means network of any two or more networks. So network is once again the basic term, the term that signifies the network, I mean the interconnection of two or more computing devices. So with that as base, let us go to the protocols. Now, what is a protocol? It basically a collection of rules that will govern the way in which a particular technology will operate, function. So that will guide what things are permitted, what things are not permitted, for example. So with respect to network, that will guide based on the functionality, how the network should operate at different levels. We have seen the OSI model and TCP/IP reference model as well. There are various layers, and each layer has got a specific functionality, and based on those functionalities there may be different protocols required there. So these are called as the network protocols, and they're based on their functionality, they may be categorized as network communication protocols, for example the TCP/IP and HTTP. Network management protocols, basically they maintain and govern the operations in the network using protocols such as ICMP and SNMP. And network security protocols, where the prominent security protocol is SSL, and the protocols, two more protocols that we will see in this category are HTTPS and SFTP, which are the secured versions of the communication protocols like HTTP and FTP. So we'll see the network communication protocols first. So network is basically done for communication, sharing of information, and that's why these communication protocols are vital for any computer network. So the basic functionality of those communication protocol is to describe the formats of data communication For example, what would be the size of the basic data unit that is being transferred? What is the time period for which the sender should wait, etc. And it will also lay out some rules for data transfer over the network. So these are must for exchanging the messages throughout the network nodes. Particularly, they apply to all the network components. They may be of category hardware or software. In the case of hardware, what would be the voltage requirement for bit 1 and 0, for example? Okay. In the case of software, which particular functionalities are expected out of that software? What should be the input? What should be the output? Etc. So these are some of the functionalities and formats these protocols will be speaking of. They, in this communication category, they basically handle the flow control, which we'll see in detail. So flow control basically means it will control at what speed the sender is allowed to send data to the receiver. The flow control, so that the fast sender does not swamp the receiver with the data, high-speed data, as well as error control. So error control basically means that while the data is being transferred, there may be some change in the bits being transferred due to various factors. For example, the voltage is being changed due to the medium properties. Maybe some attacks are there, whatever may be the scenario. So in whatever these conditions, the data has to be received by the receiver as it was sent. That is what is called as error control. The first example of communication protocols is the very popular Internet Protocol, or IP in short. It is basically designed for addressing purpose. That is formally called as routing. It works at the network layer. So what is routing? In short, routing is transferring the packet from the source. Packet is the data. The data that is given to that particular node, or maybe at the original source node as well. How that data will be transferred using different network nodes towards the destination. That is what is called as routing. So for example, if this is, let me show you with one diagram. Now let me go to the first diagram itself. Now this is the sender node that wants to send data to this particular node. Node means a particular computer in that network. So this is the source which has to approach, maybe for example this second node, that may be called as a router, and the packet, that is the data which will be originating from this, has to have the information from which node that packet has originated, that is called as the source address. Next, to which node the packet is to reach, is destined to, so that is called as the destination address. So these are called as the source addresses, address and the destination address. So those things will be there with each packet. So based on those things, that packet will be delivered to the intermediate nodes until that packet reaches towards the destination. So this is what is called as routing. Internet protocol is basically connectionless. That means when a particular node wants to send data to some destination node, that node does not have to establish a connection first. It will simply pump out the data towards the destination using the routing, and will hope that the data will reach that destination. And this is an unreliable protocol. that does not guarantee the delivery of the packets. That means it simply sends the data but does not on its own guarantee that the packet will be delivered to the destination, or if it is delivered, it will be delivered in the correct sequence in which those packets were sent. If reliable communication is required, this protocol must be paired with some reliable protocols, and one such reliable protocol may be TCP, which operates at the transport layer. Now, TCP and IP is the most popular such protocol combination because of this reason for connecting networks, where IP is used for routing and TCP adds reliability to that packet transfer or data transfer. We will now see the Transmission Control Protocol, or TCP in short. As we have just seen, IP was unreliable and connection-less protocol. Here TCP is reliable and connection oriented. That means it will guarantee that whatever packets those were sent by the sender will arrive at the receiver, as well as they will arrive in the same sequence in which they were sent. It is also called is connection oriented. That means whenever source and destination want to communicate, they have to establish a connection first. That is what is called as connection oriented. Now that TCP offers end-to-end message delivery. What I mean by end-to-end message delivery, that means if you see the OSI layers, this is the first layer of a transport layer, which is end-to-end. That means the transport process on the sender machine directly communicates with the transport process at the destination machine. You can see that diagram in the corresponding chapter there in network, computer network. So we already covered that, and that's why it is called as the backbone for connection. Now, as we already seen, this TCP corresponds to the transport layer in OSI model. TCP offers the stream data transfer, means the data will be sent as part of a stream. It offers reliability by having flow control, error control, etc. Offers efficient flow control. We already seen the meaning of flow control, in which the sender is not allowed to send data at a rate which cannot be handled by a slow receiver. Now it also offers a full duplex operation, in which the sender and receiver can exchange data simultaneously. And a very important property is multiplexing. That means the data at source machine can be combined from multiple applications. Data from multiple applications can be combined at the source machines and will be sent over to the network towards the destination. For example, at the source machine, data from email, YouTube, browser, online game, etc., that may be combined together and will be sent over to the destination through the network. At the destination TCP layer, the TCP process will once again separate out those data and hand it to the corresponding applications. So this is multiplexing. The next protocol is User Datagram Protocol, or UDP in short. That basically works in a similar way to TCP by sending group of data, that is called as datagrams, over the network. It works in the same layer as TCP, that is a transport layer. TCP is connection oriented, but UDP is connectionless. That's a basic difference between TCP and UDP. Whereas like IP, UDP is also connectionless, and UDP is also unreliable. The meaning of connectionless and unreliable we have already seen. So what are the applications if it is connectionless and unreliable? So for example, you can think of live streaming, where the speed is more important than the accuracy of the data. You'll expect to see all the thing in real time. Maybe for some frames they may not be rendered correctly, or they may not be visible, but you will not expect to wait for those frames at the cost of the next frames. Whereas in the case of other applications like file transfer, you will expect each individual data item to be delivered intact, where the accuracy is more important over the time or speed, you can say. So for live streaming and other real-time applications, UDP is required, more important. The next is hypertext transfer protocol, which is once again one important and popular protocol in internet. So it's an application layer protocol. It is designed for hypertext transfer among two or more systems. One example is browser and server. So hypertext basically means a text which has got in addition to normal text, it has got something, and that something is that it is designed with some HTML tags, creating the hyperlinks, so that whenever the user clicks on those links, the user will be taken to some other resource. So HTTP is basically designed on client server principles that you already seen. The first is a request, and second is the reply. The client requests for a particular resource to the server. If the server has got that resource, the server will reply that resource to the client. If the server does not have that resource, it will simply say that I don't have that resource. So this is what is called as request and reply in the case of HTTP. Next important is file transfer protocol, which is basically used to send the files from one host to another. A client can send files to another as well as copy files from the server. One more application layer protocol is IRC, the text-based communication protocol, used basically for chatting purposes. And there are various software clients used for this communication with other servers and clients. That can also work well with networks containing large number of distributed machines. So basically there are many more such protocols for communications. You have seen a few. Now management protocols, network management protocols. These protocols define the policies and procedures for monitoring, managing, and maintaining a computer network. So monitoring basically involves getting the information, for example, status info. Managing basically adding or deleting some nodes, changing their configuration, and this is how the network may be maintained using those. They define the way in which those networks will be managed. These protocols help to communicate these rules or needs across the network machines, so that a stable communication can be ensured with optimal performance. The basic functionality that they demand and provide is getting the status info for the connections, network connections. Some examples of the management protocols include the Simple Network Management Protocol, or SNMP in short, and the Internet Control Message Protocol, or ICMP. So far as SNMP is concerned, it's an application layer protocol. It is used to monitor the network, detect some network faults, and sometimes even used to configure the remote network devices. That is basically used by the network managers. That will involve that SNMP will get the data with statistics like CPU usage, the memory usage, the buffers, their free space, what buffers are used, whether they are free, etc. Interface traffic, some errors, are there some errors, and many more such data statistics. This SNMP is based on TCP that allows administrators to view and modify endpoint information, as we have just seen previously. That information can be used to alter the behavior of the network devices. The next protocol that we'll see in the case of management category is ICMP, or Internet Control Message Protocol. Now this protocol works at the network layer, whereas SNMP works at the application layer. ICMP is basically used for diagnostic purposes. Now you may think of what are the difference between SNMP and ICMP if both are used for diagnostic purposes. So ICMP is only related to getting the availability calculations as well as latency information. So whether the remote node is connected, that information we can get based on whether that remote node is replying to our echo packets. What is the delay to reach that node, that we can get with that ICMP. So the one particular command is there called as ping, P-I-N-G, that uses this ICMP protocol. That ping basically sends the echo packets to remote network nodes, and this protocol demands that when the ICMP packets or the echo packets are received, the corresponding node has to reply. And when these replies come at the source machine can get to know that the corresponding network node is accessible, and this much time is required to reach that node. The last category is the network security protocols. They ensure that the data transfer which is done over the network stays safe and secure. These protocols define the ways which will secure that network data transfer. Now, to make the data transfer secure and safe, the data has to be protected from unauthorized accesses. So the people which are not allowed to access those data should not be allowed to access those. Now that will be done using this security protocol, and the technique which is used to do this is called as cryptography, that involves encryption and decryption. We'll see the details in the case of computer network, encryption and decryption. Now the examples of network security protocols include the secure socket layer, SSL. The remaining two protocols that we are going to see, the secure file transfer protocol, which is called as SFTP, and secure hypertext transfer protocol, HTTPS, are just the secure versions of the protocols like FTP and HTTP, those we already seen. So secure socket layer, or SSL, is mainly used for ensuring secure internet connections and protecting sensitive data. You know that whenever we send data or we use network, they basically involve connections, and those connections can be encrypted, thus making them secure. So SSL can allow for client-server communication as well as server-server communication. For both the communications, SSL can be used. Now, as we have just seen, the data which is transferred using SSL with this SSL protocol will be encrypted, and thus it will be impossible for any unauthorized persons to know the data being transferred.
as it is already encrypted. This particular SSL operates at the presentation layer, the sixth layer of the OSI model. The next is secure file transfer protocol. It works in the same way as FTP, but the difference being the data, the file data being transferred will be encrypted. The client and server machines have to first authenticate themselves, giving the confirmation that they are the ones who are allowed to access those data. Next is secure hypertext transfer protocol. It once again works in the application layer. It works similar to the HTTP. The only difference being the actual data being transferred will be encrypted, thus making it secure. The last point that we are going to see today is the World Wide Web. So this is also called as WWW, W3, or simply web. This is an interconnected system of public web pages, some web resources. They will be interconnected and they'll be accessible to the internet. That technology or the software that makes this possible is called as the World Wide Web. A very important thing is to note that WWW or web is not internet. Web is not the internet. Internet is the hardware on top of which some applications are built, one of which is WWW or web. Now, this architecture has been proposed in 1989 by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, which is said to be the founder of the World Wide Web. So, Sir Lee had designed the first web server, web browser, as well as the web page on his computer at the CERN Physics Research Lab in 1990, where he was working at that time. Now, WWW basically involves three technological aspects. First, the HTML hypertext markup language that we'll see next. Next, the URI or URL. URI basically means the Uniform Resource Identifier. Now, as we have just seen on WWW, there are multiple resources. The resources may be web pages, the resources may be some multimedia file like audio, video file, or any text file for that matter. So each individual resource will be having one identifier. And that is what is called as the Uniform Resource Identifier. With that identifier, anybody on the internet using the WWW protocol can access that resource. This URI is also called as URL, Uniform Resource Locator. The third technique or technological aspect is the HTTP protocol that you already seen. This allows the retrieval of linked resources from across the web. The resources are actually accessed by using the HTTP protocol, which you have seen in detail previously. So the last point is, we have seen different protocols and we know the different layers of the OSI reference model as well as the TCP IP reference model. And we have already seen that OSI reference model does not dictate that this particular protocol has to be used for a particular layer. OSI model simply says what are the functionalities of each individual layer, whereas TCP IP reference model defines the functionality as well as designates the protocols to be used in particular layers. So some of the protocols that we have already seen and the others are in relation to these reference model can be associated to the corresponding layers, as the physical layer is associated and the link layer of the TCP IP, they are associated with the protocols like bus, token ring. The sliding window and PPP protocols are associated with the data link layer, and the data link layer and physical layer are combined in the link layer of the TCP IP. That's why these are associated with the link layer here. The Internet Protocol and the ICMP protocol are associated with the network layer or the internet layer of the TCP/IP and network layer of the OSI. Similarly, as shown, the remaining protocols are associated with the corresponding layers. I have used those references to generate this material. You can access the other reference material as well as this video from these resources. If you have got any queries, you can ask those using the comment section of this video. Thank you.